Hi and welcome, my name is Lawrence Baker and this video is going to be about the image size command in Photoshop. Let's go to the preferences first, Command Control K. Under General, Image Interpolation by Qubit Automatic. It's on that by default, I don't recommend changing it. Under Technology Previews at the bottom, tick Enable Preserve Details 2.0 Upscale. Okay. Command Control T for Transform. Let's click on that gentleman first. Command Control T. Notice you've got interpolation there. It also appears in the Export As dialog box. It's in a lot of places, image interpolation. So resample there. It's on by Qubit Automatic. Cancel. It's also on the crop tool. When you rotate an image, it will resample the image. And when you change the resolution in the crop tool, it will resample the image. So interpolation or resampling is everywhere. Let's also show you something else before we leave this document. Where you see FX, it means I've got layer effects. So I've got a drop shadow there. Collectively, layer effects are known as a layer style. So I've got a layer style indicated by FX. When I come to size, for instance, image size, under the cog, it's got scale styles. I have it ticked most of the time. Cancel. I've got a photograph here. Brought it in from Lightroom, F7 to get rid of that layers panel. But go to Lightroom. When I bring my stuff into Photoshop, TIFF, ProPhoto, 16 bits, resolution of 300. I think it's got 240 in there by default. It's just a bit of metadata and it will show up in the image size dialog box, but it's just a bit of metadata until you change it. So be aware of it until you change the 300 inside the image size dialog box. It doesn't mean jack, just go back to Photoshop. So image size, Alt Option, Command Control I. Notice the little square, you can click around and it will focus in on that area there. I'm going to make this full size, bring the zoom level down to about 50%. 141.6 M, it should be MB, it's megabytes. So that's the size, the file size in bytes, 141.6. We know about scale styles. Dimensions, 5931 by 4171 pixels. You can pick other measurement systems. Fit to original size, it means something this, it means you've not changed it. So if I pick a preset here, changes the image, notice all this has changed, I can just go back to original size. Or I can press the Alt or Option key and click on Reset here. Auto Resolution. Now I showed you quickly those presets, but auto resolution is quite important. And it drives the 300 ppi thing. So cancel, I'm just going to show you something. F7, layers panel. F7 again to lose it. These are halftone dots, semi-translucent halftone dots. A commercial pre-press printer prints like this, and it's called lines per inch. How many dots they've got in 1 inch of paper is the LPI, lines per inch, or screen frequency. It's made up of CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow and black. Just remember this LPI thing. So LPI, 150 lines per inch, which is seen as a very good standard, is often what we print photographs at in the commercial pre-press world. So let's get rid of that layer by turning it off. F7 to lose the layers panel. Alt Option, Command Control I. When you click OK, it will remember everything you've done, including the size of this. So I've got to click on that to make it full size again, and then zoom back down. So auto resolution, 150, that's seen as very good quality. On draft mode, or actually I'll put it on good, look at this box here. In fact, I move them alongside each other. It's gone to 225. Auto resolution again, put it on best. Okay, it's gone to 300. That's why we've got 300 ppi. Because a lot of good top-end commercial pre-press printers print at a certain LPI, and basically 300 will match the best quality. That's why we've got 300 ppi. 72 ppi is a load of old baloney when it comes to screens. I have done a video on it, link above and below. You can change it to 72 in here. It will resize the file. It's gone from 141.6 megabytes to 8 megabytes, gone down to 1423 by 1000. And then people start doing this. I want a 2001. It's not the end of the world. What I'm saying is that figure doesn't matter. Alt Option keycap press, reset. So you should really ignore that and just change the pixels. It's not the end of the world, but it ruins people's concept about PPI because they believe that 72 PPI has meaning in the screen world or the web world. It doesn't. And I said I've done a video on it as well. Try and bear that in mind. That is just data. So if you come in to resize for the screen or for the web, just put the dimensions in you want. Resampling is interpolation. Obviously, it's on automatic. Resampling means you're going to destructively change the image. If you're upscaling, making the image larger in pixels, then basically it's more destructive than downscaling. Now, I should really say upsampling and downsampling. I can't help saying upscaling and downscaling, but you know what I mean. So basically, if you make the image larger, you're pulling the pixels apart and putting pixels in. That's the analogy I use. In fact, it's rewriting every pixel. And the same for downsampling, it's throwing pixels away. So it's less destructive to the image than upsampling. Right, just get that idea out of your head that you have to have 72 in there. Now 300 is fine for commercial pre-press printers. A lot of, let's say, Epson photo printers want you to put 360 there. Some LaserJets want 260. You've got to find this information out. If the printer, the person, starts talking about LPI, ask him politely, do you know what PPI I should use? It's normally 300, but you should find these things out. So if you go to a commercial printer and he doesn't know what you're talking about, then I wouldn't really use them. Honestly, I wouldn't. Any resizing here with resample on will change the image pixel dimensions and it will change the file size. Let's show you what happens if you untick resample. Now, before we go there, actually, I want to show you how you find out what you're going to get at a certain size in inches if you print at 300 ppi. Put it on inches, it tells you it's 19.77. Calculator, 5931 divided by 300 is 19.77. So that's the math really. But, you know, all you have to do here is change that to inches. So that's what we get at what I call really good quality. If I untick resample, I don't want any resampling to take place. I'm going to make it sort of smaller, but there will be no downsampling taking place because once you've got that unticked, that and that will never change. The dimensions won't change, nor will the image size, and you can't have pixels. But let's say I wanted 2 inches by 1 inch. Because I'm going down in size, it's made the resolution now, because all three are connected together, 2965 resolution. It's meaningless. It doesn't make any difference to the printer. The printer doesn't read that. But if I go OK on it and go to the print dialog box, look down here, the printer knows, though the pixel dimensions have not changed of this image, when you go to print, it's going to be 1 inch by 2 inch. The printer knows this, but your image on screen won't change. Alt Option, Command and Control I. So most of the time, I have resample on, and now it's going to cause me a problem now because I'm trying to get back to original size, and it's sort of created that metadata. It is metadata because I've not changed the image dimensions at all, or the image size. It's not changed. It's just a bit of metadata inside the file has changed. So if I untick resample and put that to 300, I might be able to get back to where I was before, which I have. So I put it on, it's fine. You've got to be careful of that one when you untick it, but it's got custom there because it's remembered my last OK. So if I go back to original size, I'm going to go back to that. And even if I press the Alt Option key and reset it, it's never going to go back. So with resample off, I go 300 to put it back, put resample back on, and then go OK, and then come back in. Alt Option, Command and Control I. So it's gone back to what it was before. What else can you do? You can change these measurements independent of each other. Normally, if you change it to pixels, let's say, it changes both. If you press the Shift key, you can change it like so. So you can have centimetres. That didn't work very well, did it? Have inches there, for instance. So it's inches and centimetres, and you can change that one to pixels or whatever. So that's that as well. There's not much else going on, really. That's really what you need to know is that you don't need to put 72 ppi in there. If you do and resize, it's not the end of the world. 300 is for commercial pre-press printers. I think for Epson stylus, photo stylus printers, I think it is 360 and some LaserJets are 260. Before you go to print, you need to find out this PPI, what they exactly want, read your manual, etc., etc. Also, as I said, you can untick resampling, so no interpolation will take place at all. The image will not be resampled. Right, the last thing, the actual interpolation methods. Automatic. If you're upscaling, it will pick preserve details enlargement. If you're downscaling, it will pick bicubic sharper. I should say upsampling and downsampling, sometimes I forget. But if you're making it smaller, bicubic sharper. If you're making it larger, preserve details. Personally, if I'm making it larger, I use the technology preview one, preserve details 2.0. In fact, even when I downsample, I use it as well. Bicubic sharper, as it sounds, it throws pixels away and makes the pixels left behind sharper because you're reducing the image to make it look sort of crunchier, make it look a bit better. So they think. Personally, I find it makes it look too crunchy, so I don't use it. I actually use bicubic smooth gradients, but as I said, often I use preserve details 2, and I can't tell the difference between preserve details 2 and bicubic smooth gradients. If you like that crunchy effect, stick with that. Personally, I don't. Bilinear, it only produces medium results. Hardly anyone uses it, but it's very fast in its computational methods. So if you had a huge file and you had a lot of problems, maybe you might have to use bilinear if your system is really crashing all the time. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it. Nearest neighbor, hard edges, is great for upsampling line art and things like screenshots. So if you've got a lot of lines in the image, then I would go for nearest neighbor, because literally the resampling is it looks at the neighboring pixels, if it's upscaling, and says, I'll just copy that pixel. You can imagine how that would work with line art. So it's the best for that type of image. But for photographs, upwards, preserve details 2, downwards, bicubic smooth gradients. Bilinear, never used it. I never use bicubic smooth. I don't like it at all, actually. You can read up on it. I'm just telling you from my experience, preserve details 2 works for both upsampling and downsampling. But, you know, if you want to experiment around. If you're going out to a high-end printer, I would look at different interpolation methods and do a resize, duplicate the image, you know, duplicate the document, do a lot of resizing and see which one looks best. By the way, if I, let's say, put it up to maybe 60 inches, look at the size of the file, 1.27 gigabytes from 141 megabytes. Dimensions are 18,000 pixels. What you see on screen is what you're going to get, actually. So if you're happy with that, that's 100% view there. I'm going to come in a little bit more and show you something at 400%. I know that looks a bit blurry. If you press down, you can see pixels at the edge there. That's why I've zoomed into 400%. That's what it would look like without resampling. You just made it larger. So that's why it's very blocky. I hope you got that. Let's bring it down to something like 200%. I'm over zoomed in. You might be able to see it here as well when I click down. Yeah, it doesn't, you can see it's much fuzzier when you let go. It's how you're going to see it if you pressed OK. So you are getting a representation of what the image is going to look like in this box. That's why I often make it larger. I hope you got something from this, guys. It's not a difficult dialog box. It just confuses people about the resampling. So if you want to untick it and go down in size, yeah, you could do that, but the printer will recognize it, but it doesn't change the file in any way at all, except for a bit of metadata embedded in the file, which the printer can read. So for instance, now, if I brought it back to original size quickly and left it on automatic and everything, I go OK, go back to the print dialog box, you can see it's filling up completely. Obviously, this is A4 paper. It's a very cheap printer, but you can see 13 inches by 19 inches. This dialog box respects the image size dialog box, but it's not the other way around. So you can change certain things, but you can't change the actual image size in pixels here. That's it, guys. Thanks very much. I hope you got something from this.